Bonjour à tous et bienvenue. Nous sommes ici à présenter un ensemble d'innovations qui sont différentes mais extraordinaires. Toutes les innovations ici sont quelque chose de particulier et au top de la technologie actuellement. Et surtout, ils sont partagés par l'amour de l'esthétique, de la musique et de l'art. Je vous présente les personnes qui sont ici. And I'm going to speak English from time to time because we have people from different countries and not all of them speak English or French. So, first of all, we have Gian Giacomo Rocco. He's here and he's going to talk about listening, how we can listen each other. So, he's a technology, he's linked to art, et il va expliquer effectivement la capacité d'écoute. I'm going to change language to language, but then we will have someone that speaks Russian, Spanish, Japanese. So, you can ask a question even if you're not familiar in French or in English. So, je vais continuer en français. Donc, Gian Giacomo va faire sa présentation en anglais, mais je suis tout à fait d'accord de parler de ça en français ou expliquer ou répondre aux questions après que vous avez vu sa extraordinaire performance. Ensuite, on a Franz Fischnaller, un artiste. Il peut vous répondre aussi en allemand, en plus de l'italien et de l'anglais. Il va faire sa présentation aussi en anglais. Mais il peut répondre aux questions, par exemple, dans d'autres langues, si vous avez des questions. Ensuite, on a notre star qui est italienne, mais il parle anglais comme une personne d'Oxford, il n'a pas d'accent comme moi. Et Riccardo, avec son équipe, il va vous faire une performance extraordinaire. La création d'images faites par la musique. Donc, c'est la musique qui passe en première et les images sont créées en direct par la façon qu'ils ont de jouer la musique. Et ils ont leur extraordinaire technicienne qui va vous expliquer les mystères technologiques qu'il y a derrière cette performance extraordinaire. Donc, quand vous la verrez, vous aurez plein de questions. Comme vous aurez plein de questions quand vous voyez la présentation de Gian Giacomo ou quand vous avez la présentation de Franz. Si vous avez des questions, je préfère qu'on les fasse à la fin de tout. Donc, gardez les questions pour tout le monde parce que sinon, demain, on serait encore ici à expliquer toutes ces magies qu'il y a dans l'IA générative, dans cette implication de l'intelligence artificielle dans les métiers créatifs. C'est très important, elle est étonnante et effectivement, l'Institut européen, il est un peu au cœur de cette innovation, car l'innovation peut être utilisée d'une façon positive pour l'esthétique, pour l'art, mais peut être utilisée différemment. Donc, en particulier, l'expérience de France va vous la montrer. L'expérience de l'art, ça va vous la montrer. Donc, j'espère que vous apprécierez ce spectacle et gardez les questions quand on a fini. À la fin, je pense d'appeler sur scène un artiste qui n'est pas dans les panels, russe, qui va vous expliquer son installation, qui est encore à l'espace Europia Art. Et je vous appellerai aussi Alejandro, qui est venu d'Espagne, et il va vous présenter, toujours dans l'espace Europia Art, ce qu'il a préparé pour cette journée. On n'a pas le temps de l'insérer dans la conférence, mais je suis heureuse si vous le rencontrez et vous voyez qu'est-ce qu'il a fait effectivement dans notre stand. Merci beaucoup et je pense qu'on peut commencer Je voudrais dire peut-être quelque chose sur moi. Je m'occupe je suis experte de l'Institut Europia, IA et Art, et j'ai essayé depuis plusieurs années, et le thème que j'ai surtout voulu amener ici, c'est quelque chose qui soit au top de la technologie, qui soit esthétique, et surtout qui nous rassemble et qui nous fait vivre ensemble. Même des projets universitaires, des jeunes. Je ne regarde pas à la retombée économique de ce qui est présenté ici, qui est très importante parce qu'il faut continuer, mais surtout à l'innovation. Donc, je vous remercie beaucoup et je serai heureuse de répondre à toutes les questions après.
Okay.
If you want.
Okay. So first of all, I wish to thank you because I'm used to say that you are dedicating to us the most precious resource we have in our life, which is your time. And I wish to appreciate a lot this gift from you to all of us. Say that, I'm Gian Giacomo. My name is very complicated, so I'm used to simplify it in GG, which is definitely easier than this. I'm the president of the Platt Foundation, which is a foundation we founded last year, at the beginning of, exactly 1 year ago, more or less. And the mission of the foundation is about explaining behavioral neurosciences through the art. Behavioral neuroscience is especially focusing on what is about all the conditioning we have in our mind. Sometimes we don't know it, but we have a lot of stereotypes, bias, prejudices, and things like that, fears, and then from here derive fake news and whatever else. And we try to explain how it works in our brain, why it is normal, and how we can overcome it. And we use the art because we are strongly convinced that the art has a capability of emotionate people, and in a way or another to fix all this kind of concepts in a much more effective way than a simply divulgative way of doing would do. And that's all.
You want some short French of what he's saying? Always say, it's okay, perfect.
So thank you very much, and I'd say probably it's better that we present each other then after we go into the project, I suppose, no? Yeah, friends.
Maybe we have the magician.
Thank you very much to be here, especially to Diana and Marco, and all of your presence. I'm here today with showing you a video sequence which I was inspired by Peter Bruegel, which was a painting made in 1526, which is quite some time ago. And he had in somehow the similar preoccupations that we are looking into today. In his painting, which is a painting in oil, a small painting, which is located in Vienna in the museum, he focused not necessarily in the mythology of the Babel and the problem of the falling down of the civilization and the unification of language or dispersion of all these kind of things. He focused in his painting very much on the building itself as a tower and on the human interaction on the tower. So if you look very close to the painting, you see a lot of human beings, a lot of crashes in the building, in the below. So he basically was commissioned to bring this painting into the visualization in that way. So I use this as an inspiration. Last year we brought here the original painting in digital, in a gigapixel format. But this year I try to interpret in the work we are showing here to show also sort of a parallel vision into what we are nowadays living, in which sort of threshold we are moving into with this new technology. Nothing is new. It's a different form, a different style that we are living and we are practicing. So this is how I do. So also, for example, I do in my visualization, I'm using artificial intelligence, I'm using 3D environments, 3D modeling, I'm using different technologies to visualize an idea, to make a perception to the user that he can sort of sensibilize their own background to see an interpretation in that. So I put from a visualization of a rack of a amazing big data set of servers to war situations. I put upside down the tower that becomes sort of a vortex and looks into these things. So I am playing around in a way that also when we see a lot of robots here around in this exhibition, in my piece, they are sort of the angels becoming robots, which have no body anymore necessarily, and they are moving into and they are sort of guiding you in different imagination. So there is a sort of a threshold of layers, and you're looking like yesterday in the conference, Jean-Michel Jarre spoke. I will get back. Now you are with your good English.
It's okay. I hope my English is Oxford enough today in order to be understood. But I'm Riccardo. I'm here with Marco and Raul. And I'm actually not going to say anything about what we are going to do because it's better to see it and listen to it later. All right? Marco, want to say something?
No, well, thank you. Thank you to having us here. Thank you, Marco, and thank you, Diana. So that's amazing.
Thank you. If everyone is here, maybe Riccardo, you can start, because question and answer will come later. So you perform, they will perform, and then you will see from the video the images and what there is interesting. So keep visual and keep the question, because technology is behind all these extraordinary experiences.
Let's go. Okay. Let's see how it works. Look, guys, we're going to start with the music, and the rest is going to come naturally. All right? This musical genre, is the right one? Yes, is called klezmer. What does klezmer means? It means musical instrument. But how are the musical instruments used in klezmer music? They are used in order to mock, in order to impersonificate the human voice. Now, this reminds me something. Whenever I go to ChatGPT, right, and I ask ChatGPT to answer a question, it answers me trying to impersonificate a human, right? In a way that it sounds human. So my question is, what's the difference between the clarinet and ChatGPT? As long as we use them as instruments, as long as we use them to convey something that is human, right? In my opinion, there is no difference between ChatGPT and a clarinet. So, what do we say then with the clarinet? What can we say with AI, artificial intelligence, then a good question would be, is there any intelligence that is not artificial? This is another topic. But whatever we actually want to say, it is connected to visions. It is connected to imagination. Music itself is connected with visions. Our brain itself is made for multimediality. Sometimes we think that the connection between music and videos and visuals is something new, something from the last century, but it is not. Actually, before Athens, and there is a marvelous passage of Plato that actually witnessed this, music itself was not even detached in the conception from performing arts, from theater, from visions, because music, the word, comes from the art of the muses altogether. Then during the history, they started to, take different paths, but our brain is made to listen to music and create images. And I'm sure 100% that while I was playing that Klatzmann piece before, you saw something connected to your own imagination, to your own background, to your own images. With Uvi, we start from this. How to enhance this imagination, these visions that you have, and how to see them on the screen. Exactly. Voice and instrument. Let's go to the next slide, please. Here it is. Now, we as classical musicians, mainly, we used to go on stages and play music. Personally, I played in all the most important theaters in the world. And sometimes the audience I have in front of me playing classical music doesn't really reflect my age. So we asked ourselves, how could we bring more audience to the stages, to the halls? And we found out, no, not yet. Thank you. I'm going to tell you, don't worry. Raul, it's arriving, guys, don't worry. Whenever there is a movie accompanied live by an orchestra, now you saw a beautiful movie, it was Charlie Chaplin, and Marco is going to talk about it later. Whenever there is a movie accompanied live by the orchestra, the hall is packed, also by young audience. The problem of these movies, we will see it later, is that the musician needs to follow them. Because the movie goes, right? So the musician needs to have a click track in their ear that goes like, for like 2 hours. It makes you crazy. Can you imagine to play music with this in your ear? It's horrible. Trust me. And the movie is always the same. But it works. It works very, very good. Now, what if instead of having an orchestra following a movie, we don't make a movie that not only shows the vision of the musician, but also follow the music and change with it? Let's ask Marco why. Marco Seco, please, a round of applause. Marco Seco, co-founder of Studios, but also the director of the Milano Philharmonic Orchestra.
So, some time ago, the movies, when they started doing, there is an interesting movie actually that we want to show you, because it was in a particular moment and it has an important significance. Can we let's see it. So yeah. So this is a movie from the 36. It's Tempi Moderni. It was Modern Times, Modern Times, so it's a famous, the last one of the most important characters of Chaplin, the Vagabond. And so during that time, movies where they didn't have sound, no? But they have orchestras, like if I play something, I don't know. And whatever. It can be a lot of things. An interesting fact, just to give you a thing, Chaplin, at his size, he wasn't a professional musician, but he had a good, fantastic ear. So with a fantastic musician that was David Raskin, he actually made the music for these movies. He was singing the lines and David was composing for the orchestra, because orchestras were accompanying live. And an interesting thing is that this movie, Modern Times, is about how technology and how the modern era was there and was too much for everyone. Everyone was like a machine, working in these fabrics all the time. So this was like a way of trying to tell this to everyone. This is a difficult kind of life. And the interesting thing is that he did it with one of the most modern technologies of that moment. That was cinema, actually. So he used technology to talk about technology, and that was an interesting thing. Yes, but there is a thing. When as a musician, we need to accompany this music. Well, these kind of films. These kind of films are beautiful. Are beautiful, but we have to stay there. We have to accompany all the time with the music, and we have to be careful, because if we go outside the right moment and in the right place, it's not going to work anymore really well. It's going to miss something emotional is going to be missing. So in that moment, with Ricardo, we start thinking about in which way we can go through this, not to lose this important connection between the images, between the films and the music, and have the liberty to express ourselves as musicians, interacting with movies.
Yeah, because cinema was born together with music. I mean, you were going to the movie theaters and you had, like a piano roll or a little orchestra playing that was accompanying the movie. And the cool thing is that now it's born AI cinema, and we wanted to celebrate it in the same way, but with the opposite concept. So instead of having an orchestra, again, following the movie, a movie that follows the orchestra, there is a fun fact, and then we go playing, about one of the Warner Brothers. So super high level in terms of from like 100 years in movie production. When the audio was starting to be part of the movies, one of the Warner Brothers said, "Who the hell want the actors to talk?" Can you imagine? So technology is something that needs time and people that uses it in order to start being part of the habits. But in that case, with the audio in the movies, right? It was helping someone that was making a movie or an actor to express themselves even better. That's how we should, in our opinion, use technology. So let's go on. What's next? Control unique. Yes. We can do two things. One is trying to generate live the movie from scratch connected to the music. And this, we can do it, but there is two problems. The first one is that we can have a fully cinematic quality at the moment. And the second is that all our clients, which are the musicians, wanted to have a kind of control over the outcome, because it's their visions. What we start is, what do the musicians see in the music? So we ask the musician. So if it happens something completely different on the screen when the live generation is actually made, that we're not achieving the scope. So how to make it affordable enough for orchestras in order to showcase it, how to keep the control, but at the same time, keeping the uniqueness of each event. And this means that every movie should be always different every time you showcase it or you play the music exactly as live music, because that's the beauty of live music. So what we came out with is very similar to one of those old adventure books or game books, those that you were reading, and depending on the actual story you were choosing, it was sending you to a page or to another. Like if you want to go left in the story, go page 30. If you want to go right in the story, go page 40. And the story was changing every time. What we did is something similar. So we actually created a database, and then Raul is going to talk about it, with the previously AI-generated images that are merged, edited live during the performance. So we keep the control, and this means we keep the musician vision, but also the unicity of the moment itself. Let's try it out. Let's see how it works. We're going to play the first of the Romanian dances by Bela Bartok, an amazing Ungarish composer that wrote these pieces taking inspiration from folk music again. It was folk before, it was folk now, because technology is folk. You know what I mean? Sometimes we think technology is not for people, but technology is for people and should come from people, like music. That's it. Let's try it out. You ready? But let's get to the actual innovation, because the hard part, trust me, is not the video part. It's the music analysis one. Because music can be, these are acoustic instruments, vibration of the air that flows through a reed here, or no, that's not, but this one is, right? So analyzing what happens here, it means trying to understand what the musician is doing, actually, and convert it into data to then use the data and answer the data with specific images. This is the hard part, is the music analysis one, not the video part. Now, let's get back to the unicity part, to the uniqueness one. We're going to try to play the same piece. The first part is going to be the same as before, interpretation-wise. The second part, we're going to play it louder, all right? And see if it reacts, if it changes, actually. Now, this is just a small use case. Imagine it with 100 people on the stage. Imagine it with multi-layers. Imagine mixing it with also live generation. For now, we need a more GPU computer now. But it is not about the technology here. Look, it's just about the vision. It's just about giving a tool to someone in order to reach better the others. Now, Raul, would you like to show something of the interface, both the web app and that one? Yeah, all right. Give you the mic.
Hi, thanks. Well, I just not to just to be a little faster. I just want to briefly show a bit of how do we build the whole experience, right? Give me 1 sec that I need the keyboard. So basically, our technology has two sizes, as Ricardo said before. The first one, the one that you actually see, is how do we build the story? How do we build the story up? And how do we create from our own library of generative AI video stuff what the user wants to show? But to get there, the first thing we need to do is actually tell the system what are you going to play, right? So we can select, for example, I don't know, let's go to these dances, right, that we have here, and then we tell our system in which part of the dances I want something to happen. We just chunk the whole thing, and then our engine is going to realize later, I'll tell you later, how to change and when to decide what to play next. That would be the first part. The second part would be, coming from our asset library. You will see here some videos that you probably are familiar with what you saw before. But coming from this library, we create the storyboard. We just tell let me just see one that it's already fed with, I think this has something. Well, because I'm running from the internet in my mobile phone, so it's gonna take a while if I show you everything. But basically, what you see here, right, is the user telling in which part of the story what library asset wants to see, and then after that, our own platform gives the user the option to edit it afterwards, right? So we'll go into edited mode, and then we'll prompt again an AI behind what do I want to change from the asset that these fantastic Ubi people gave me, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to do that because it would take quite a bit of time. But basically, what you'll see here is some different assets that are coming. For example, you see here on your right one asset that was removing the horse of the other by a user, etc., etc. And that's how we create, building on top of the asset library, what the user will see afterwards. So once that whole the whole video part is built, our own desktop application loads that story, and then is when the magic happens, because the audio engine is not actually running here; it's running on my own computer. It looks like this. So after I load the whole what the user has pre-built on the web platform, I see the whole story here behind, right? These are all my possibilities, and this on the downside you see the audio reference that I told the system what I was going to play, and our different checkpoints where the actual changes should happen. So what happens now is that in performance mode we have our own kind of DL enhance mechanism that is analyzing Ricardo's music, Ricardo's instrument in this case, or Marco's full orchestra, to actually see not only where they are in the reference that they told us they were going to play, but what are the difference and why are they playing differently from the reference that we have, in order for the systems to decide which path to follow. based on the taxonomies and the properties on the data set that we have. And I think that would cover pretty much it. We'll have some questions afterwards if you want to raise more. So,
Great. Great, Raul. I mean, one thing I need to mention is that Raul is not just a genius engineer. He's also a clarinet player, like me. So that's super cool, guys. We suffer the same. That's true. Let's get back to the presentation. Let's go to show you. No, it's fine. To show you something made with the full orchestra. We launched this year at the Venice Film Festival, and then we actually found out that there are also a lot of brands that want to, use this for their internal and external communication. For example, Dell Technologies or Luxottica, Armani, Swisscom, and many others. But this is just a glimpse of it. In terms of styles, we can really reach almost anything. Let's show it. And now I'm going to conclude with just one last piece so that we stop with the music, because that's the beauty of it, which is a bit of an exploration. Because if we have the tools, we also should explore new goals, new worlds. So the experiment in this case was trying to merge a very great passion that I have from the Pink Floyd, so pretty famous group, with a clarinet, which is not that easy, trust me. And in order to do it, we took inspiration from Saint-Exupéry, The Little Prince. And we did it telling the story of a friend of mine. Let's go through it. I had a friend. And this friend really wanted to be on the moon. He wanted to go on the moon so much. One night, he goes to bed. He wakes up. He's on the moon. He looks around. There is the planet Earth there. Look. Wow. I'm on the moon. What should I do here? Well, I go out, I jump on the space. So he goes out, take a deep breath, and he's ready to go. He's ready to jump it out. He prepares, he's about to go. He thinks, but he's a bit afraid because it's the black. He goes. And nothing! He stays stuck on the moon! What's the problem of it? Well, maybe the problem is he didn't left his fear to explore new worlds there on the ground. So he take a deep breath, he leaves it there, and he starts the travel.
carissimi. J'ai oublié de dire que Ricardo, il n'a pas seulement un accent de Oxford, il est aussi un acteur. Il peut jouer comme acteur, il peut raconter une story, il est même un athlète, il peut faire plein de choses. Storytelling. So, Ricardo, vraiment, il est extraordinaire. Alors, on a ici d'autres artistes, il va nous dire plein de questions et plein d'exemples aussi après, parce qu'il est un passionné. Étant donné qu'il est passionné, il va nous refaire plein de choses par rapport au public qui est ici, de toute langue, de toute culture. Et merci des explications extraordinaires qui ont été faites. C'est très important parce qu'il y a des experts ici qui se questionnent sur la base de données, qui se questionnent aussi comment ces images ont été construites, comment l'IA générative il les repêche quand on joue la musique de façon différente. Ce que j'ai apprécié énormément, c'est qu'il ne fait pas de la musique super moderne, il ne fait pas non plus de la musique des images qui sont des couleurs, c'est-à-dire pas d'histoire. Il a choisi exprès pour cette expérience extraordinaire d'images et de sons, il a choisi de la musique classique et des images qui évoquent des mémoires classiques. C'est super simple de faire de la musique super moderne et rap avec des images rouges, verts et des formes super, disons, qui viennent du dessin animé ou qui peuvent venir d'autres jeux qui se font en mélangeant mélange de musique et vidéo. Lui, il a choisi de la musique classique pour des experts. Il a choisi des images aussi révocateurs et qui réveillent notre imaginaire. C'est ça qui m'a conquis dans cette expérience extraordinaire. Je passe la parole. Il y a un autre artiste, donc, qui est France, qui va nous montrer effectivement cette nouvelle mythe de Babel. Je vous invite à le regarder. Et puis, je pense que France, c'est aussi un artiste aussi extraordinaire que Ricardo. France, probablement, il n'est pas un acteur, mais il est un grand artiste qui peut vraiment évoquer avec ces images et la technologie à laquelle, effectivement, il va vous expliquer qu'est-ce qu'il a utilisé et comment il a utilisé l'IA pour passer des messages. Mais ces tours de Babel, ces mythes de Babel, c'est la technologie, en théorie, qui devrait nous unir. C'est la même technologie, il devrait unir les différentes cultures et les différents peuples. En réalité, elle est utilisée pour des raisons. Il peut y avoir du bien et du mal. Donc, dans son image et dans sa vision, je pense que chacun peut voir en soi-même l'histoire. On peut interpréter, tout le monde regarde un tableau, mais on peut interpréter ce tableau selon ses convictions et selon les questionnements qu'on a dans l'époque actuelle où on vit. Merci France.
Merci Diana, merci que vous m'invitez ici. Oh yes, sure, mon français c'est très mal, excusez-moi. Je peux parler allemand. Okay, thank you very much. Do we see the video now? Or? No. Okay. In the video, as I started before to speak a little bit, I don't like to speak too much, but in the end I speak all the time too much. I tried to, like Bruegel, to show the architectonical construction of the Babel Tower. So he showed the human involvement when an architecture is going high up and how it has to be built and how he interprets in a second layer of message the destruction and the falling down of the whole tower that they are constructing a map. So if you go to sky and you go to heaven, he built it, and in the same time he built it in the way up already broken. So what I can do in 3D, and we're using the AI and all this technology that we are using. I'm working since virtual reality became public, so I'm working in this field too. So I try to see the tower not only as a breaking down element, as an architectonical element, but I'm trying to bring you inside the tower, inside sort of a merging vertex that we are moving into, and I'm using the AI to inspire sort of, because we have a lot of layers of imagination in our mind. If you see a traditional work, an ancient work like the 15th century, and I get inspired by the technique, what I did use in that moment, and I'm trying to approach it in the same way. So I am then using in the imagery a composition of contemporary visions, contemporary things that we see day by day on the TV, or we see on the images that represent sort of the contemporary situation for the positive or the negative ideas. I'm not speaking about positive or negative, like Diana said, everybody should interpret it in the way of his own background, and everybody can see it in the way he wants. And this is how I bring in sort of elements and fragments which sort of stimulates in your deeper perception to connect you with some things that makes you think. So the important is when we work visually, we have to stimulate like you do in the music. You send a sound. The sound makes vibrations. The vibration liberates in your mindset some things and combines it with a visual. So this is what you said in somehow before, visuals and communication is basically one and entire things, and sometimes we forget about that. And so I'm trying also to put in, when I am having the possibility to put together bidimensional, three-dimensional imageries, making whatever use of technology from the last version of doing with softwares, whatever we can use. I'm not mentioning now which software I'm using, because I'm using too many and I'm trying to put together, because I want to reach a level that creativity is still the domain of what I can domain, but I will not be used by technology doing this content. We can start a video.
I think so.
Yeah, we should start a video. We should see, and then you can see what I am trying to express into the visualization. And this work is done basically originally on 16 meters by 9 meters in stereoscopical way. So you see just an extract of the work. And with the sound, I allow myself to make a composition to guide you sort of emotionally into the different dimensions. What is real, what is fake news, what is all these kind of things in that way. So this is gathered into this element of the ground, and we see in the back again falling down the bubble where sort of this devil, or let's call it the angel, which became a different element in its way. He's looking into this abyss and find to see what's going on. So while he's looking into this and becomes the shadow, the angel comes up and it converts his face into David. And I bring sort of a parallelism in between Michelangelo's David, that he was also playing the idea of the Goliath and David and Goliath, so fighting together the power situation on this way. And the other part is coming next. There is another following part.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, France. Je pense que tout le monde peut revoir cette vidéo qui a été complètement créée avec des outils d'intelligence artificielle, et il peut voir des choses différentes selon son propre regard. C'est ce que je pense c'est intéressant. Chacun peut la revoir online, et je pense qu'on peut réinterpréter ces vidéos avec son propre sentiment, et c'est actuel, les technologies et what is going on maintenant dans ce monde. À côté, donc, je voudrais remercier, mais après, elle nous dira quelques mots. Un autre artiste qui n'est pas dans le panel s'appelle Vassilisa, elle est russe, et elle a fait une installation à l'espace IA et Art, dans laquelle elle évoque avec son installation, un fait réel qui est arrivé en 1900, je crois, 83, en Union soviétique, dans laquelle il y avait un système de perception du danger, et à fur et à mesure que les dangers augmentaient, il y avait un enchaînement de commandes exécutives pour faire partir une explosion nucléaire. Alors, on ne serait pas ici, effectivement, ici à Cannes, si un ingénieur il s'est aperçu que dans cet ensemble d'enchaînements vers les déclenchements d'une bombe, il y avait des erreurs dans les programmes automatiques, que c'était la lecture du danger. Quel niveau de danger il fallait faire partir certaines actions. Alors c'était quelqu'un sans aucune autorité à l'époque, mais il s'est aperçu que les systèmes donnés à l'intelligence, pas à l'intelligence, à l'informatique à l'époque et aux technologies à l'époque, ils pouvaient déclencher quelque chose énorme pour l'humanité entière. Donc, elle a fait une installation, je vous invite à la voir, et c'est quand même extraordinaire qu'on est ici, et on peut parler de ça, parce qu'on n'a pas eu une explosion nucléaire en 1983 en Union soviétique. Donc, je remercie cet ingénieur qui s'est aperçu que la technologie, des fois, elle n'est pas parfaite. Je passe la parole maintenant à Gian Giacomo, qui va vous parler, lui aussi en anglais, il va vous parler de la capacité de l'écoute. Donc, c'est quelque chose de quand même extraordinaire pendant nos jours, parce qu'on a parlé de la musique, on a parlé du visuel, on a parlé de Babel et de l'incompréhension entre les cultures et les peuples, même si les technologies sont en théorie supposées nous unifier. Mais Gian Giacomo va nous parler effectivement d'une expérience extraordinaire qu'il a fait en Italie. Donc, elle est encore en italien, on ne peut pas la faire directement en anglais ou en français ici. Mais il est quand même une expérience extraordinaire. Elle est dans les bouts, naturellement, de Europia Art, mais j'ai trouvé que c'était extraordinaire, mesurer visuellement et avec l'art et les images, la capacité d'écoute des personnes. Je te passe la parole.
Thank you, Diana. I think that to all of us, sometimes happens that we talk with people and we have the feeling that they don't listen to us, especially in a one-to-one situation, or sometimes we don't listen to them. It's never happened to any of you? Yeah, every day. It's pretty common. Right? Well, 4 years ago, my wife passed. And a lot of friends of mine, of course, want to comfort me, stay close to me. And they invited me to stay with them, all come to me, talk to me, etc., etc. And I had a period of very intense one-to-one conversations with those friends of mine. And what I noticed at a certain point is they didn't comfort me. I was comforting them. So they come to me and they say, "Oh, Gigi, I understand this. I understand you because I lost my wife. No, so my wife. I lost my grandmother of 91 years. I understand you because I have lost my dog, and so on." I remember there was once a situation in which I was with a girl, with a friend of mine that I think I didn't see her for something like 5-6 years, and we were in Milan in a coffee, and it was something like 1 month since the pass of my wife. And she worked in the same sector of my wife, was the health space, and for 2 hours, believe me, for 2 hours, she only talked about all kind of disgraces that she had in life. So what about the husband that went away, the kids were against her, the job wasn't going well, etc., etc. For 2 hours. I remember I was with my dog, a small dog, and I scratched my dog, I think in eczema, and my dog scratching my dog. At a certain point, after 2 hours, she told me, "But Gian Giacomo, I don't understand. But Gaia was so loved in her environment, in the environment, the job environment. How it happened? How? Because it's incredible how much people talk about Gaia. Gaia was the name of my wife, and I was astonished. So wait, wow, one question." She's asking a question now. After 2 hours, she's asking a question. And I was a little bit embarrassed because I wasn't prepared to the question. I stopped scratching my dog and said, "Okay, my wife was very good in her job." And then she was I wasn't able to complete the word empathic. She stopped me and she said to me, "I'm empathic as well, but it's not the same for me." And I said, "Okay, let me check where are the safety exits because I have to go right now. Now it's time to escape from this situation." Now, I'm laughing again about this, but believe me, it was unbelievable. at a certain point, I understood that people are not able to listen in a way or another, or at least not in that situation. Maybe I choose friends in a selective way. Maybe there is selection bias, my friend, I don't know. Anyway, I decided to, okay, we have to do something about that. We have to find a way to describe this. And so I created the idea of the ER speed date, which is exactly the same thing. So I say, the idea that then we created a foundation, not only around this, of course, but around a lot of situations. But this was, of course, a perfect project for start the foundation. And the idea is, okay, I put together two people. Hopefully they doesn't know each other, but it's not necessary. They can also know each other. It works well if they know each other. And we say that, well, first we take a picture of those people individually. And then we say, okay, now you have 10 minutes to talk each other. We only extend to know each other. So you have 10 minutes to talk. You can say whatever you want. They sit on a table and they talk with the microphones, and their voices are recorded. And the voices are recorded and analyzed from an algorithm we internally developed together with Cineca. Cineca, for those who don't know, Cineca is a very important consortium of university in Italy, and they are the owner of the supercomputer Leonardo. They were in love of the project when I talked with them, and they helped us a lot in this project. So I thanks a lot Cineca for the support they provided us. And the algorithm is capable to detect whether the people are actually listening each other or not. And the consequences on the picture that we shot. If I listen the other person, in a way or another, I can say I know who the other person is. So the picture that was shot to the other person is given back to me clear and clean as it was shot. On the opposite side, if I don't listen the person after 10 minutes, I cannot know that person. And so the picture of that person is given back to me completely altered, completely deformed, in a way that I cannot recognize that person. Because that's the way, that's what I know from that person, nothing. In 10 minutes of time, nothing at all. If I ask you if you can show the slide, not the video, directly the slide that I give you. Okay, here you are seeing an example, which is very typical, by the way. You have the man on this side that didn't listen to the woman. And indeed, we don't know what is the face of the woman. It's impossible to recognize the woman. He didn't listen at all. While the woman listened to the man. And indeed, more or less, we can figure out how the man is. And this is a typical example that, by the way, it's also in line with the first data we have. So unfortunately, as a man, I have to say that the data are terrible toward our as men, because it looks that we are very horrible in listening. Let's say the worst possible situation in terms of listening from what we have seen so far is that when two men talk together. It's a little bit better when a man talks with a woman. Then increases a little. It's not clear if it's a, let's say, it's a sexual situation or whatever. I don't think so. But in any case, when a man talks with a woman, tend to listen a little bit more. The top are woman with woman. When two women talk together, this is the top listening at all. And those are the first data we have. So, as you can say, we say that this is a sort of artistic provocation, but based on real science, because the algorithm has been created based on the research that our neuroscientists did in literature over all the world, and also internally, because of course the literature is about listening in general. So for instance, the literature says the important, what are the elements that are important in conversation, but there were no mathematical thresholds at all. So we had to figure out how to find this, the right threshold, the right formulas, etc. Something we did in an year of work. But eventually this happened, and now we're already working on the next step of the algorithm, where we will incorporate also. First of all, we will incorporate other languages, because at the moment it's only in Italian. And second, we also will embed things like, for instance, biological parameters and moreover. And not only to talk about listening, but also to detect more things.
Thank you very much. I think you explained very clearly la capacité d'écouter. How we can measure. I just wanted to say that Cineca is the most important European research center for computers in Bologna. I am from Bologna, so I'm very proud that Cineca is in Bologna. The computer Leonardo, the supercomputer Leonardo, who run all the European project, they were here last year in Cannes, is run in Bologna, and they have now the new computer, European computer, the quantum computer is in Bologna. So I invite you, if you go around to Italy, to stop even in Bologna, because the European research for supercomputing calculation and research are in Italy, in Bologna. I'm very proud of it. But they run a project for all Europe, so not only the Italian project, but of course projects from everywhere in Europe. So I think we have a moment to, if you have, I think you have more questions. There is a last video that I don't comment, and is an old story that I wanted to tell you now. Then will be a 3 minutes video that I leave you to watch by yourself. It was the history, has been the story of an artist that I knew when I came to France, whose name was Heidi Melanot. She is passed away since 10 years. She has worked, she met the painter Chagall. I think everyone knows Chagall, even if you are not French, who was a great artist. And she met Chagall in 1964, 65 or 64, when she was living in Paris, in La Ruche. That was a special area in which artists lived at the time. So she worked 30 years for the great master Chagall. Peut-être je vais continuer en français, étant donné qu'il a travaillé toute sa vie en France. Donc, il a rencontré Chagall, un grand artiste, à Paris, mais les mosaïques de Chagall ont été réalisées par cette mosaïciste qui, dans la vidéo, vous allez la voir. Elle est courte. Mais la chose intéressante, c'est que la mosaïque, ce n'est pas une forme d'art qui est française. À Paris, on ne la connaît pas trop. Les grandes mosaïques modernes sont dans les Alpes, dans la Côte d'Azur. Ou ils sont en Italie, vous allez à Ravenna, ou ils sont dans d'autres pays méditerranéens. La mosaïque, c'est quand même quelque chose qui se faisait sur le sol. Ils étaient des artistes, mais pour les Grecs, c'était considéré des esclaves. Les Romains aussi, qui font du travail manuel, sont les esclaves. Les intellectuels, ils parlent de philosophie, ils font des discours. Et donc, effectivement, étant donné que ce mosaïste, à l'époque, c'était des grands artistes, des grands réalisateurs, mais pas considérés comme tels. Donc, c'est seulement récemment que la mosaïque a été réévaluée, qui ça s'est fait sous des parois. Et cette histoire que vous allez voir s'appelle « Les voyages d'une mosaïque éternelle », The Voyage of Eternal Mosaic. Chagall didn't put any tessera. Chagall was a painter of mystery, was very light, flying birds, flying couples. Everything that was light, remember you Chagall, if you like it. And putting something that is light on stone, on something hard like granite or tessera that is in glass, is not easy. You put something light in something strong. But she did it, and this mosaic was done for a friend of Chagall that was original Russian. And there was an apartment of a Russian friend of Chagall that was done in Paris. And they decided that they have a little cour around. They decided to have decoration because the cour was too small to put a garden, was not enough light to do something. So they decided to decorate with a great mosaic. So it's been done in 1964. Then the family passed away. Time is passing for all of us. So after 40 years, the owner decided to sell this apartment. If you have an apartment and you have a Chagall mosaic in your cour, it's not easy to say, okay, I will sell it, and then that's okay. It's like to a normal selling. They think about to donate this mosaic to another foundation that is now that has been done in a foundation that is called Genada in Geneva, Martigny. So if you go to Geneva, please go to see. And the story finished short. When they decide, all the experts from Les Beaux-Arts de Paris, they decided to transfer this mosaic, and no one was capable to do. They say how it can be fixed, how we can take it out. If I touch, everything is falling down. Who did it? But there was someone 40 years ago. I don't know if someone is still alive. So they came, it was like a spy story. They came from Paris to Biot. With this lady was living, dead, all the grand artists. She was living in poverty in Biot. And they started to check if still has memory about what happened 40 years ago when she did this mosaic when she was in Paris. Likely she had memory. Otherwise, we will not have this mosaic, beautiful mosaic that is now in Martigny. So thanks to Elle, she remembered what to do. They took her to Paris 40 years after to dismantle everything and to bring in Martigny. So I leave you seeing this short movie that is less than 5 minutes, and then we will pass the microphone for question and answer. Thank you so much. Est-ce que je peux demander à quelqu'un de passer un microphone au public pour les questions, s'il vous plaît? Il n'y a personne. Je le fais moi-même.
Faccio io, faccio.
Non, non, ma il y a personne.
Je m'occupe pour moi.
Ok.
No.
To the people, please. Thank you. Et historien de France qui a réalisé aussi l'œuvre numérique de la mosaïque de Chagall.
Alors, j'en profiterai, vu que j'ai le microphone, de poser une question à ce point. Je vous pose la question. On a vu plein de choses, des émotions, des productions et des images. Et la question que je me pose quand je vois, c'est la production de tout ce contenu, disons, à travers l'intelligence artificielle, c'est le copyright de qu'est-ce que vient produit. Comment fonctionne? À qui sait me répondre? Ricardo.
Vai.
Yeah, that's a question.
Yeah,
of
it's
course.
a big question.
Look, there are two things. There is the intellectual property, which is owned by the artist, basically, so who makes the art. And then there is the question on how to protect it, right? Maybe the right question is, do we have to protect it? Look, let's take, for example, software, all right? So if you want to patent software in Europe, you cannot do it. You cannot. What you can patent in Europe is hardware. Still, you patent hardware, what does it mean? You make it public, first of all, and then, trust me, there's going to be someone for sure that's going to find a way to copy it, even if you protect it. But there is one other thing we could do, instead of using the word protection. It is recognition. I'll give you an example. There was a huge mess when OpenAI actually let the people create images over the style of Miyazaki, of Studio Ghibli, right? Because Miyazaki was actually against it, right? He didn't like the AI, production itself. But you know what happened? That after some time, I went to my mother, and she actually knew who Miyazaki was. Before ChatGPT was not letting her, create her images of her friends, she didn't know who Miyazaki was. So after a moment, Miyazaki was actually even more famous than before. Why this is important? Because it doesn't matter what you protect. Everyone can, in this world, try to do the same thing. But it matters if in that style you created before, as a human being, you made something that is recognizable. So in that case, if you make something that, artistically and humanly recognizable, then you don't need copyright anymore. Because you can let anyone actually create their own images through your style. So I would say that it's not possible, and here I stop, to solve problems of today with words of the past, with uses of the past. So we cannot solve this problem today how they were solving it 10 years ago. Patenting, copywriting, right? It's a different world. And we need to accept it and just find our way through it, in my opinion.
Thank you.
But it's not all the time true. No. It's not true all the time because, there are very strict laws, specifically in France, have very strict laws about authorship. In Germany, also very strong laws, and which they don't respect or not respect, but you can go against that. So you have the proofs of your work. So, for example, my personal experience, I have very bad experience about copyright. I design also architecture, design for buildings, and so I was working in the university in Chicago, and I got a phone call of someone, an architect, and he asked me if I can give him a consultancy. So I say, okay, come and we meet, and we show me the project, and then I see. So he came with the project. He had 3 buildings of mine that I designed. So what should I do? So then I went back to where he stole it, because he stole it on the desk of an office, a specific office of the government. And then I had to deal 1 year long with lawyers to get back my things, to block the things. I didn't get anything, but I only could block it. Another one did the same thing. He was owner of a university. He invited me to see the mock-up of a master plan of a city where I designed before a planetarium and all these things with all new technology and blah, 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 robotics and so. And then he said, this just arrived today, and he invited me in his university to show me this thing. I went in and see this, and they saw my name. Then they immediately, the light turned off. Everything was broken. I couldn't see anything anymore. So obviously then and then he got a heart attack. I'm sorry, I had very strong experience in copyright. So what I do, so I'm just telling you, it's true and not true, because you can protect yourself and you can't. So what I do, for example, the major works, I protect them internationally. There's an international law. I deposit them in the library. I don't know if it works from Trump's regime on, but I deposit them in the library in Washington, which gives you the protection for X years for your work if you can document it well. If you speak about patenting, that's another issue. That's about when you have physical elements, and this is very expensive. So I am from the opinion, when you are creative, you do all the time a better work, and so they can copy the worse work. But if they copy you and they do a good job, then I'm very happy. But that's
I can say we have a specialist on this, and I think Europia, that I'm responsible for this conference, it has a specialist and organizes conferences on the topic because it's one of the most important topics. So I invite you to, first of all, to inscribe yourself to this association that is Europia, and then you will have, we have done many things, Europia has done many things on this topic specifically. What I think now is interesting talking about the visual, and I think from artistic point of view is very possible to make new experiences because everyone is open to do something new is for the aesthetic work, of course. But, of course, each one needs to be protected. Absolutely.
sure.
You're right. I mean, there are ways to protect yourself. Yes. My answer was more about on the topic of I'm not sure I need to be protected. So let's say that we do a marvelous piece of music, right? As it happened. I mean, Mozart was copying the guys before him, and then all the composers were copying each other's. Every artist copied another artist, all right? Let's take, I don't know, the Picasso or Bob Dylan, you know, how many covers of his songs were actually out after him, right? Even the Rolling Stones, it comes from an actual song of Bob Dylan, the Rolling Stone, right? So what I think, but that's of course, it should not, you know, everyone has their own opinion, their personal art and creation, which is technology or art itself, is that if I do something great and someone copies me, I'm happy because it means I did something great. And I'm opening a market, by the way. Because if someone else starts doing the same thing I do, even with my own ideas, it means this person is actually helping me to share that idea with even more people. So instead of, and this is, again, personal use, right? Personal opinion. Instead of being worried of how to protect myself against these people, I prefer to leverage the fact that this person is, first of all, you know, certifying that I did a great job, and second, bringing it even to a wider audience. That was just to clarify it.
Now, it's correct copy the style, but not copy the product.
Yes.
But it's a long debate. It's not, is copying or inspiring? I think he was more inspiring, and it's true. Even in the story of the mosaic, each one that creates something has been inspired by somebody else. Only God starting to create for no one before. But in our humanity, I think so will be a good debate. We can organize something on this.
I have a question on something that happened before, like not on copyright, but on your Tower of Babel. And just that, what is the current language of everyone? Like, do you think AI is involved in creating this common language among all humans? And what does represent the inverted pyramid? I'm not a real expert on this myth, but I'm curious about this.
I didn't understand if you want to know about technologically or how to approach the language itself. Maybe I didn't. Can you get me a little bit more clear?
I want today's perspective of Tower of Babel, if we are coming closer to that.
No, I mean, this is a mythology
Yes.
which has been interpreted already by Bruegel. So each one sort of interprets it in a different way of sort of reaching of certain summits of arrival of on certain topics. So we are not, the Babel is sort of only a metaphorically interpretation. So it has nothing to do with the tower itself. So it's a metaphor that can be adapted to anything. I mean, we spoke today before corruption in the politics or corruption in whatever, or copyright could be also a topic that is a sort of a Babel issue, because it's sort of it falls down, someone builds up a concept and the other one throws it down and things like that. So it is sort of generally seen. And I am only relating it, the Babel, my work on the Babel, I was inspired. I didn't copy Bruegel. I copied last year because I got the original, the rights for the original. I copied it digitally, the original work of Bruegel, and then I work on top of this. So it's basically an inspiration where I use an element, and especially I do this a lot in my work, something that people know. So they know the Babel of Babel, the tower. They know, not everybody knows about the mythology of all this kind of, how this comes under storytelling, but I use this as an element where the people can attach their world into that to imagination, to their imagination and to relate. So basically this gives, like I did a project about Last Supper, Leonardo da Vinci, so elements what people know, everybody knows. And then on top of this, they build their own world. So this is how I use the mythology of Babel, and I make this interpretation. Then I speak about the war, I speak about the climate change, I speak about different things. So I can bring in a lot of topics. I can bring in political issues, I can bring in creative issues, I can bring in fantasy, I can bring everything. And at the same time, it is an experiment to see how I can bring together technologies, playing, I say because people are playing nowadays, with IE, because that's still an instrument people is playing with, because in many things, in the visuals, not in the other fields, so there is really concrete answers. So this is where things are sort of used for doing it. I don't know if you gave you the answer.
Yes, it worked on me.
So I will take one last question, because we were supposed to finish at 5:30 p.m. So we are already late. They're going to make us out. If you have one last question, first of all, thanks to our panel, because they have done something very great. I forgot to, but you can see still in the stand, I forgot Alejandro that is here, and he will do a lot of things with Spain next year. And I am very happy, Alejandro, that you came here. Thank you, Ale. If you have one last question, we try to finish with this. And she has a question. Good.
Did you want to answer? Oh my gosh.
Please.
Yeah, I don't want to bore anybody with my question. It's a bit technical. It's about this play, music, and video, and how I imagine that you took a piece of music and cut it in many pieces, and you took pictures or short videos, and you told, okay, if the music is loud, I want to see that you added some description to this information. It's how I understand that. And then you take the music as input and you send the query to all your pictures and generate this output with AI. Is that this way? How does it work?
Is a long question and very complicated, but he's doing...
Yeah, I'm software engineer,
Yeah.
so I just want to...
It's even easier, actually. First of all, the description is the first thing. So we go to the musician and we ask, what do you see in the music, right? Then, on these visions, we create the main asset together with an AI artist. So a person that uses AI in order to create visions, all right? Then this asset is actually a database where during the live show, you picked, the tool picked the right path in order to showcase what you see in the actual movie. In this case, the asset itself can be seen before, all right? So we keep the control over it. But every time you showcase it, it's always a different path. So that's basically how it works.
But you take pictures or videos as input?
Videos. Videos. But it can be also images. Exactly.
Okay, so you just... Okay.
No worries. Yes. Grazie.